Hello and welcome to the next segment of 24 Authors in 12 Hours. I am here with W.D. KilPack III, and he likes to go by Bill, so we're going to go with Bill for the rest of the show, but I'm going to make sure all of his amazing information is put into the comments for you so that you can like him, you can find him, you can get his newsletters. And Bill, you are a prolific author. And I know that this show, I really kind of wanted to focus on this whole dystopian, apocalyptic, speculative fiction piece. And we've got the Crown Prince here, book 1 of the New Blood. Do you want to talk about the series at all?
Well, it's an 8-book series it's epic fantasy. And in it, Nathar is the main character. He's the guardian of Merrick, which is the guardian of mankind. He can see into the future. He can see into the past. And so with the book that you've got there, it literally starts with the birth of the Crown Prince. And so he knew that he was going to be born and that the royal family was going to be overthrown and that it couldn't be stopped. So that he can take the Crown Prince with the wet nurse and flee. And then he makes the rules. He stays with them. And so you get to see the Crown Prince grow up for 7 years and see their bonds and all that. And a lot of times in books like that, they skip that. You get to see all of a sudden the Crown Prince type character is suddenly grown up. And so I didn't skip that. I had 5 kids. And so he is loosely based on my oldest son, who was a handful. And he's a handful. So the rest of the series is that at the end. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just laughing. You're like, and just like my son in real life.
Yeah. And so at the end of the book, he goes back to do his duty and leaves. And then the rest of the series is trying to get back to put him on the throne and all the horrible things that happen, as he's trying to do that.
Yeah, that is super interesting, and I think it's good when you can get all the interconnected stories, because so often it ends up one-dimensional if you don't.
You really get to know the characters. That's one of the comments that I get from critics, is that you really get to know the characters, you bond with them, and when bad things, that you have an emotional response. And there are times when I was writing it that, I would laugh. I made myself cry. I have all these things that happened with me when I was writing it. And if I had these responses writing it, then I really feel like, the readers should have some sort of strong response. And that's my goal.
So let's pull that thread a bit. I love that. What do you want the readers to get out of these books? And once we finish talking about the Crown Prince a bit, we're going to go to your books on BattleCom and talk a bit more deeper into dystopian. But when people are reading the Crown Prince, what do you want them to take away?
Well, one of the things that I like to stress probably in everything that I write, not just in that series, but that people can endure, that hard things happen. Life is hard. Life happens, and it can be brutal, and it is unfair, and you can endure. You can. I wrestled for 12 years. It's the hardest sport in the world, and I've done hard things, and I've had hard things happen. My mom passed away last week. Last night.
I am so sorry.
And last night we held her celebration for life, but I know that she would not want me to interrupt what I was doing, and so I'm here today. And you can endure. You can take these things, and yeah, it hurts, and yeah, you can take it on the chin, but you get up and you fight back, and you endure. And that's one of the things that I think is in everything that I've written, and it's definitely in this series, and it's definitely in the BattleCom cycle.
So I'm going to stay with the Crown Prince, and I want to read a little piece of the Crown Prince, and I think it's really wonderful. This theme of endurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to start off, and this is page 20. And Lord Carl, captain of the guard and commander of the king's troops, frowned as he reached the top of the sturdy ladder mounted to the inside of the curtains walls. Hundreds of his men were massed together along 100 yards of wall, some trying to edge past each other on the catwalk that was barely wide enough for 2 men to pass, let alone 2 men in chainmail, shirts, helmets, carrying short bows, swords, or hammers. At least 100 three-hooked iron grapples. That was hard to say. 100 three-hooked iron grapples, say that quickly, for Dr. Seuss, nearly as long as a man's forearm, adorned the top of the wooden wall. Defenders rushed over to hack at the ropes, dangling down from them. Too many toppled backward or over the wall itself, their chainmail pierced by the savage's crossbow, bolts fired from outside in support of these seeking to surmount the wall. Gods have mercy, Kyle spat, then launched himself over the top rung and yanked his long sword from the shelf before he even touched the catwalk. Crossbowmen, he bellowed, his deep voice slicing through the clamor of the battle. Let the others worry about the wall. Cut apart their archers. Dozens of men responded immediately, switching from firing on the men on the wall to those giving cover fire in the growing dim of the dusk. Carl pressed his helmet on, the nose and cheeks pieces resting on the old calluses had regained their protective quality over the past weeks, and not an instant later, something struck it, bending his neck slightly and releasing a clang that made his ears ring. A mountain savage's head appeared over the wall. Beads, rings, and finger bones of vanquished foes clattered in his beard, almost directly in front of one of Carl's crossbowmen. He yanked up one arm and caught the Erig soldier's crossbow, diverting the shot even as he yanked the weapon free and threw it over the wall. Carl's sword choked into the side of the enemy soldier's skull, sending him plummeting to the earth after nearly taking the captain's sword with him. Immediately, 3 more appeared, these met by men with swords and hammers. I mean, where do you go? Like, you're just like overwhelmed in battle or taking over your wall. Like, that's enduring, right? I mean, that's like where you're like, you have to go to that point where you're like, how do I overcome this? And so I just thought it was amazing. I had picked that passage from your book, as you're aware, before we started this interview. And then you said this is what you want your readers to take away.
Well, and that's one of the things I'm illustrating is that they are being overwhelmed, and Carl is Nathar's best friend, and it's in that particular instance it's illustrating bravery also, that he takes one down and 3 take the guy's place, and and that's how it is, that so many people are relying on him in particular, and just those soldiers and the things that they do. And I have a huge respect for people in the military, and the things that they do. I interviewed military vets for BattleCom, for example, and that just enhanced that respect. And that's that also is some of the stuff that I'm trying to show, that there are people in the military face things that normal people can't even imagine. And so I was trying to illustrate some of that something that somebody helping people understand something that otherwise they may not even be able to imagine.
As an Army veteran, I can really relate to this. And when you said normal people, I kind of smiled a bit, because I help with a support group of especially women who are reintegrating as veterans. And it is a very different thing when you're transitioning from uniform into civilian life, and this whole your experiences that you think are normal, and you realize that so much of the population has no idea your experiences. Where to you, like, yeah, jumping out of a plane, going to foreign countries, being shot at, these are things that happen in your life. And then you come back and you realize, like, oh, I guess not everybody has friends who have shrapnel wounds. Who knew? And, you know, like I'm really bringing that home is so important. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's a good segue into Battle Calm. This is your dystopian, I think it's 2-book series. Is that correct?
Well, it's a trilogy.
Trilogy.
So Battle Calm is the first one. And that one, this is hardcover. It did just come out in paperback also. And then my most recent release, which was last month, is Battle Calm Omega Message, and that just came out last month. And dystopian military sci-fi. And I wrote the original draft in 1984, and so I watched the first 30 seconds of The Terminator and turned it off and started writing. And so, you know, that's kind of what got me going, that imagery of a world that was at war to where all that you could see was the devastation. And so that got my juices flowing. And so you've got Badger, who is the greatest soldier alive. Now, I have one of the things about saying I wrote the original draft in 1984. Her name, where she is? Her name's Trinity. That's way before the Matrix. Just saying. But
so you predicted the Matrix. I'm gonna go with that.
And but you don't want to mess with her. She will take you out. But in book one, the world has been with the series. The world's been at war so long that nobody remembers a time that it wasn't. And in essence, book one is coming to the conclusion, are we all that's left? And I mentioned that I interviewed military vets because I wanted to get, in one of my rewrites as an adult, I wanted to get a feel for what it's like to be in the trenches. And interviewing these veterans, there was a mix. I know somebody who's the sergeant at a VFW post, and so he made the arrangements for me. I really had to do nothing. He just did it, and which was awesome. And I had a mix of veterans from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and Desert Storm. And their stories, there was a variation in the types of stories and their viewpoints of combat, and even, you know, the politics behind the wars. But their stories about the combat itself, there was a distinct consistency. And it was really kind of a profound experience to talk about some of these stories. And to be honest, there are some stories I wish I'd never heard, just because they were things that, and saying normal people, that was not my term. You know, that was their term. Normal people don't understand these things. Normal people have never experienced this. And after spending the time I did with them, interviewing them, I get it. And I think that term is appropriate. That I do believe that trauma, whether it's physical or mental, I do believe that trauma alters your brain chemistry. It changes you. And you know, when my sister passed away a long time ago, seeing, even though at the time there's a commercial on TV that played the song I Believe, that I can't remember. They're really, it's kind of a sappy, sad song, and then it showed all these puppies. And for 2 years, that commercial would come on TV, and I'd start to cry. And I don't cry at movies and stuff. I didn't used to. Now I do. But that I think that was with my sister dying, that it changed me. And so I do believe that things like that happen. So interviewing these vets was profound. And there was one guy that told me a story, and he was a Vietnam vet. And he told me a story that about him and a VC where they ended up fighting, where they were both disarmed and trying to kill each other. And he said, you have to use that. You have to use that. And so I did, and it's actually in book 2. It's changed for the characters, but that scene is real. That actually happened. And so uh, since the publication of Battle Calm, I've had military vets who've read it, who then they've come to book signings and asked me, how long did you serve? And I didn't. And so I just take that as just a huge I just got chills. I just take that as a huge compliment. This makes me feel like I did my job. And I have a review from a woman who was a special agent in the U.S. Army CID, and that's what Jack Reacher did, and she just raved about it, and then contacted me, and I told her that I'd interviewed these vets, and her response was, I could feel it. And again, I just got chills again. And that again is just one of the coolest things that I've ever been told. And so it was just, I don't even know how to describe those things. I'm not finding the right words. I hope I'm conveying it, because it's just such an emotional response from me. I have trouble articulating it. So I hope I'm
it's interesting you say that. Is that's one thing I love about interviews versus writing. If I'm writing, I can spend 30 minutes. Is the word invisible or translucent or transparent the right word, right? And then I can crowdsource it and ask other people. But when you're in the interview and you're on the spot, it's like whatever words come to you. Like, it's a very different thing than writing. And one of the things I want to highlight is, here at 24-hour authors in 12 hours, there's a lot of authors. And if you can make it to the interview at 2:00 with Doug Burby, he writes a very similar kind of genre in this like military dystopian. And the thing about Doug is we have not talked in, I don't want to figure out how many years, but we were in ROTC together at university. So it will be my first time talking to Doug and interviewing him. And we both ended up, serving and doing our active duty time. And it'll be our first chance to kind of catch up. But I think you honor the military people that you interviewed and the military people who are out there with your writing, and by keeping it, and obviously you need to write it for your fiction and your genre, but sometimes you read stuff and you're like, this isn't even close to reality. Like, this is, this wouldn't happen or something. And I think that really what you're able to share and convey is really profound. And I think, there's this question, for the interviews where I talk about, like, what do you want your readers to get out of it? And I love this part about enduring connection, and how even if it's something really deep and really heavy, that there is going to be a way through and a way out. But what it takes is that connectivity with other people. Like, I think that one thing that you'll hear from military people over and over, and I'm sure you did in your interviews, is a lot of times it's maybe I don't feel like I can do it, but if I can't do it, then guess what? Bill's going to fail. So I'm going to do it, not for me, but I'm going to do it for Bill, and how that sisterhood, brotherhood really does work. And I think that you convey that well. And even in this scene with Carl, this, just page that I read, page and a half, is he's up there. He's the commander, but it's all about his people. He's like, how can I keep my people alive? How can I protect this wall? How do I keep the civilians from getting harmed who are, within the protection of the walls? And that is such a greater cause. Yeah.
Yeah. And that all of those things I bet were mentioned by every single person that I interviewed, and in one way or another. And I can't use the language that was used with this one guy, but he was talking about that there were days that he just didn't even feel like getting up, but he had a job to do, and if he didn't get up, then who was going to cover so and so's back, who was going to be things like that. And normal people don't have to make decisions like that, don't have to have those types of thoughts. if you don't feel good, then you just call in sick. You know, you don't have to think about if you're out there and you know that well, this guy got a silver star, and he was doing something. He was a Navy SEAL, and he was doing something that he couldn't tell me specifics about. And he got uh, uh, he got shot through the thigh, and it shattered his femur. And one of his companions fell out of the boat, and they were wearing big, heavy packs, and he went down. So after he got shot through his femur, he dove in and saved him, and with his also wearing his pack. And so he saved this guy, and without being able to use one of his legs from the thigh, you know, mid thigh down, and then they still fought their way out, and he got a silver star for that. And you know, which is a really high level of commendation. And I don't know if it's the highest, but it's a really high level. You know, I can't remember. I looked it up once, but I can't remember right now off the top of my head. It's a really high level. And that to me, and I asked him.
It's right below like the Medal of Honor.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. And I can remember just asking him, what went through your mind before you did that? And he said, nothing. I just did it. There was no thought that you know, he's my brother, he's my family, and he went in the water, and all thought of the pain that I was in just was gone. I had to you know, there was no thought. And that kind of mentality I try to convey in some of my characters, and then I try to show that others don't have that, because there is that disparity. Not everybody is like that, you know. And there were some people that I interviewed that didn't have that same mentality, and of course they didn't have a silver star, you know. And so
I think important portrayal, an important point too is you know, you used to need the people out there at the pointy tip. You need the support people. You need the entire ecosystem. And we are really covering some heavy topics. I told Bill before this, I was like, I don't know what direction this is going to take. Like, these things can just go in any place. It's a journey, right? For those of you out there, I do want to point out that we have a lot of different links for Bill in here. Please go ahead and my number one advice for authors is please go ahead and follow authors on their newsletters. They will tell you all kinds of cool stuff going on. He'll tell you when the different books are coming out, the behind the scenes on the books. And the other thing is, if you want to do anything nice for an author, the best thing you can do is leave a book review. That is really the number one thing. And I want to promote real quick 24 authors in 12 hours. This is a website. If you want to donate, we love donations. This is an author helping author event. Authors pay nothing. This is all about community helping each other. And we also have 24 authors in 12-hour merch now. So if you want a coffee mug or anything, it is all out there for you. Want to just promote this as a community event because it is super fun, and you know, it's something that I think all authors quickly learn is the battle isn't the book. That's just the first part. It's really how do you market the book. We'll talk about editing in a minute. I'm going to do one shameless plug for my own book, Decoding History, that just came out last month. It is Decoding History, the Invisible Thread. It is book one of a series. I like to warn people when something is a series so they're not like, oh, I thought this was standalone. So if you want to wait for all 7 books, you could do that, or you can download it today at absolutely no cost to you on Kindle. If you are a Kindle person, check those out. But I do want to make sure I'm leaving Bill with the final moments here. What did we not talk about that you wanted to cover today? Because I feel like we did a lot of like meandering.
Well, I put off all my stuff. I've been freelance writing for a long time. I was published the first time when I was 9, and got my first writing job when I was 15. So I've been doing this for a long time, but I put off all the stuff with my novels to raise a family. And so my youngest finished college, and I thought this is the time. And I've been just going at it 100%, and no holds barred. I'm just going at it and just loving every minute. And so people, when they started getting my books, they just started doing things like sending me pictures of themselves holding my books. They just started doing it, and that was just so cool. And I didn't expect that. I didn't know. I send out the vows of the Knights of Rill to people when they join, when they sign up for my newsletter. They started sending me videos of themselves reciting the vows, and I really didn't expect that. But I love it. And people wanting to interact. And somebody, when they finished book 4 of the New Blood Saga, sent me a message on Facebook immediately saying, when is book 5 coming? My birthday's in August. How about that for a birthday present? Just things like that. And I never anticipated people, readers, wanting to participate. And I can't thank people enough for that. I'm getting emotional. That they want to take part in having them. It's so much work and so much, that goes into this, and to have people show their appreciation. And critics have been so amazing. And crap, the awards, 45 book awards. I've got 45 book awards in these books, and I don't even know what to say about that. So I guess I just want to express my appreciation for the readers and for the critics and for the people that are doing those things, because I've waited a long time. And it just really, I appreciate it.
Bill, we appreciate what you do. And like I said, as an Army veteran, I appreciate your bringing this and sharing this and really making it authentic. We are going to have to wrap up this segment. Like I said, definitely go to Bill's website, check him out, follow him. There's a whole links to all his social media. Look at his books. And if you do like 24 authors in 12 hours, please go ahead and get some merch. It's a great way to show the importance of virtual book festivals and what we can do together as a community. So thanks a lot, everyone. Bill, thank you so much for your time, and everyone have a terrific couple minutes until we have our next author.